this because it says here that she wanted to be buried like that, so on and so forth. So that's one scenario. If she didn't have a will, she didn't write a will, she didn't stipulate, then obviously it's going to be problematic. It's going to be what? Problematic. So if you have the ability to have the body, to wash it, shroud it, pray over it, and bury it as a Muslim according to the Sunnah, that's what should be done without causing a major fitna. Issues of legalities, the mother, non-Muslim father, so on and so forth. This is my daughter, she was baptized, how can you take my child from me? Lawsuits, so on and so forth. If you have the ability to do it forcefully and there's no fitna, then that's one thing. If you don't have the ability, unless through a fitna, major legal sticky issues, then it's nothing that you can what? It's nothing you can do. La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not put on a soul, does not make a soul in charge for more which that soul, or more than that which soul, with more than that which that soul can do and perform. So it's no sin upon you if they take the body and they bury the body in the way of the people of kufr and shirk. Then you make the prayers upon the deceased Muslim, even if you don't have the physical, actual deceased body. Wallahu a'lam.
AA from New York. Can animals, cats, dogs, etc. see jinns?
The question says, can animals, non-human beings, see jinn? Allahu a'lam. Allah knows best. If we have something from the authentic sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ stating that they can, then that's one thing. And if not, we don't know. From one aspect, the animals are a part of our world, alamu shahada, the world of the seen, and the jinn are from another world, alamul ghaib, the world of the unseen. And the asl, wallahu alam, the asl, the default rule, is that which lives in the alamul shahada, animals to hear things, to sense things, maybe, perhaps, Allahu alam.
Mustafa from London. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What are the best ways for the beginners in seeking knowledge? And how was the Ramadan of the Salaf?
What are the best ways for the beginner in seeking knowledge? And how was Ramadan in the time of the Salaf al-Salih? First and foremost is, we've done many videos, walillah alhamd, we've dedicated, not a few, a good number of videos on this topic specifically. How to seek ilm, as a beginner, intermediate studies, advanced studies. We've done many specific videos on Hadith Disciple channel, let alone all of the different things that you find throughout every video. Every lesson is some type of gem or jewel for a talib ilm, one way or another. How to read, hadith science, fiqh, khilaf, blind following, traveling, dedication, one way or another. So my advice, or what I could tell you right now, and Akhil Kareem, may Allah bless you, Ameen, and the rest of the brothers and sisters in the UK, and Allah give you the success, Ameen, is please go back to those videos that have been specifically done to answer the likes of these questions in detail, with example. That's my first piece of advice. Secondly is to keep it in brief and not to leave you hanging, as we say here in America, is the first thing that the talib al-ilm needs after a good, strong relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first and foremost, is a good companion and a good teacher. A companion and a teacher will make you or break you. It will make the student as a beginner or break the student as a beginner. Good habits will be picked up from a good companion and from a good teacher. Even if it isn't a teacher, but just a good friend, okay? Let alone a good teacher, or the teacher who is your friend. And that's an issue in itself. It has to be detailed. However, bad habits are also picked up from a bad teacher or a bad friend. Laziness, lethargy, backbiting people. A proper or a very common habit of many students of knowledge. As we said before, they think that backbiting doesn't apply to them. They think that namima does not apply because I'm a student of knowledge. So we can sit and talk about Abu Bakr kada, Abu Bakr kada, Abu Bakr, and they don't think that that's what? They don't think that's ghiba or namima, and actually it is. About clearness is very important. So good study habits, always having a book with you in your hand all of the time. Walking around, you go to the market, you have a book. You go to the masjid, you have a book. You go to the fajr, you have a book. You always have a book or a tablet in your hand all of the time. That's a good habit that you can pick up from your teacher. Covering your head. Not saying that it's mandatory. Not saying that it's wajib. but it's definitely a good habit. Certain things that you're going to pick up from your teacher and from your friend as a talib al-ilm in the beginning. And those habits, bidnillah ta'ala, will stay with you, good or bad. Also, the teacher, bidnillah, should be someone who has more experience than you, who has more knowledge than you, who's been around the block and back, who's seen life. He's mature. She's mature. They've been through things in life. And there are many of us, we might have information and knowledge, but we don't have actual experience in life. Experience in life, life experience. I asked some young brothers one time, right here in this masjid, I said, what's the worst thing that you've been through in your life? The worst thing, the toughest fitna you've been through. You could barely name anything. So how can you go talk about this person or teach this class or go here and do this? You don't even have no life experience. You don't even know what life is like. Everybody understand this? So these are certain attributes and characteristics of the teacher. Teacher should be knowledgeable, should be pious, should be righteous, should be a person of the sunnah, of the ilm. And bidnillah ta'ala, the beginner student should go under the wing of a teacher. Get the direct tutelage of a good person, a good teacher. It doesn't have to be Ibn Taymiyyah walking in London or Birmingham. It doesn't have to be Ibn Taymiyyah walking down the street. But somebody that has some knowledge, some experience, some piety, some sunnah, more than the beginner. And bidnillah ta'ala, listen to what your teacher says. Do what your teacher tells you to do. Buy this book, not that book. Study this metin, don't study that metin. Go to this country, don't go to that country. Study here, wahakada. That's the best advice that I can give. Wallahu alam. As far as Ramadan in the time of the Salaf Salih, then we have general things, we have specific things. The general things, it's like Ramadan bidnillah ta'ala in times of the Sahaba, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ in general. There was a great amount of sacrifice. There was a great amount of focus and concentration in this month. People realized how special, how important the month was. And that eating and drinking, feasting were considered to be trivial things on the side. They were footnotes of the main chapter. Many of us today, the eating and drinking, the iftar, the suhoor, that is the what? That's the main part of that's the main chapter in the book. These were small things to them. And they looked at it as a time of forgiveness, a time of getting Allah's rahmah, and a time of devoting oneself to the Quran. Devoting oneself to the Quran, sticking to the Quran, staying with the Quran, focusing on the Quran. It was a time in which we normally look out for orphans and widows. Now we look out for them even more. Go to them, search for them, knock on their doors, where they're at, bring a bag of money, who needs food. This was some of the things that they would do during the time of Ramadan. And you read the athar of many of the Salaf Salih. Some of them wouldn't teach hadith. They would only stick with the Quran. Others would continue to teach hadith. What's important is they realized that it was a special time. It was a special opportunity Allah had handed them. And it was befitting of the slave to take the gift of his master, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what in general. As far as the specifics, then every person is different. There's some of the Salaf Salih that will recite the Quran every 10 days, every 7 days, some even shorter than that, even though that's not necessarily the sunnah, as the Prophet has explained to us. So some of them did more than others. Some of the Salaf Salih prayed more than others. Some of them read more than others. As we said, some of them stopped their hadith, majalis al hadith for the Quran. And others said, no, we teach ilm in Ramadan just like outside of Ramadan. So that's going to be something that you have to find out from every tabi'i. Tabi'i to tabi'i, it differs from what? Person to person. Wallahu alam.
NA from New Jersey, USA. Assalamu alaikum. I have 2 questions. Is chamomile tea haram? Second, if a woman who covers her face and wears eye makeup, must she screen her eyes?
Tayyib. Is chamomile tea haram? I don't know of anything that will make it haram. If the questioner has some type of detailed knowledge of chamomile tea as an intoxicant, some type of fermented flavor, la adri. I don't know that chamomile causes some type of an intoxication, nor do I know of it coming from any type of haram or illicit or illegal source. So that which I know in my limited knowledge is that chamomile tea is just like any other type of tea that is permissible to drink. Rather, it could be recommended certain times of the night, soothing you, putting you to sleep. People who suffer from insomnia, people who lie down, they can't go to sleep, they cut off the light, they read a book, they can't sleep. Sometimes chamomile tea with warm milk may help you go to sleep. All right, so I don't know of anything that would make it haram. If you have some information, please give it to us. As far as when you wear eyeliner or kuhul or mascara, lip, gloss, things like this on the eyelashes, eyebrows, and you wear the niqab, you have to wear a screen. These things are not to be worn, and they can be seen. If you put on kuhul, then you should wear a screen. If you're not going to wear a screen, then you should not put on kuhul. It's just that simple. It shouldn't be done. It should not be done. Should not be done. Wallahu alam.
I'm a Khair from Canada. Is it permissible to read the dua for istikhara even if you don't make the actual prayer?
It's permissible. It's not necessarily haram. It's dua. You're asking Allah for something, but that's not what the Prophet said. He says, إِذَا هَمَّ أَحَدُكُمْ بِالْأَمْرِ فَلْيَرْكَعْ رَكْعَتَيْنِ مِنْ غَيْرِ الْفَرِيضَةِ أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He says, when one of you is stressed, إِذَا هَمَّ أَحَدُكُمْ بِالْأَمْرِ, when you're stressed over an issue, it's on your mind, you're thinking about it, you don't know what to do, then make 2 rak'ah min ghayr al-faridah, other than the obligatory prayer, and then make that dua. So that's the advice of the Prophet ﷺ. That's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, is mentioned in authentic hadith. And hopefully when you're taking some type of medicine, the effectiveness of the medicine is going to be based off of the effectiveness of the dosage of the prescription. The doctor, the pharmacist prescribed it. Don't just take the pills, but take 2 of them every 8 hours. You have to eat this pill before you eat. You have to eat this pill after you eat. You have to eat this pill at this time of the day for it to actually what? Work. Wallahu alam.
The rest of the people didn't use the format. Should I still ask the question?
No, they have to use the format. Please remind them. Hadith disciple format. Name or initials. If you don't want to put your actual name, that's fine. And you should put your city and state. Not just Canada, but the actual city and state. City and state, or city and province. Fadl Khalid.
How should a younger teacher handle an older student, 10 years older?
A younger teacher handling older students is challenging. It's challenging. And that's because it's presupposed that the teacher is supposed to not just be more knowledgeable, but also actually older. And with age, among most people comes respect and wisdom. And often, many times, many people, when someone's younger, they automatically look at it as lack of respect. I don't have to, and I can tell you this from my personal experiences. Many people, they would never even think about asking or doing or saying something with somebody that's older. Even if, and I'm just saying this hypothetically, okay, I don't have no knowledge. I'm just a small pea pod, literally. There's people much, much more ilm than me. But there may be somebody that I may be a bigger pea in the pod than him. 10 times more knowledge. This person never went overseas, never studied anything. And they wouldn't dare challenge him and try to question him and haggle him at his show, quote unquote. But because I'm young, I don't have a beard, I don't have a big gigantic belly. Oh, you said this. Oh, you said that. Right here in this masjid, you find people, well, no, the ayahs say like this. Did I even say that? Would you say that to somebody whose recitation is 10 times worse than mine? They wouldn't say what? Anything, just because of age. But because young, so I have to put him in his place and check him and, fix his mistakes. Or there are some brothers, they may argue and fight and go back and forth. For somebody older, they wouldn't what? They wouldn't do that. Where can I find this hadith? What's the isnad? What scholar said this? Are you making this up? Is this your ijtihad? Or is it the ulama say? Some brother said to me one time. Wallahi. He says, is that from you or the mashayikh? The mashayikh. The mashayikh say that or you say that? I need to know. If somebody that's older, that doesn't have 1/10 of the qualifications that I may have, actual ilm, they won't what? They won't question him. So that's sad. Let alone the concept of race, color. These things are a reality among human beings. So it's going to be a challenge. No matter what, no matter how much knowledge you have, no matter how qualified you are, no matter how clearly the teacher appoints you. Khalid is in charge. He's teaching the halaqah. There's going to be somebody that's going to be ignorant. There's going to be somebody that's going to challenge you and try to show you up just because you don't have wrinkles in your face and gray hair in your beard. So it's going to be a fitna, and you're going to have the sabr. And if you don't have the sabr, then don't teach no classes being young. Everybody understand this? And there's also going to be a great amount of jealousy and envy that's going to be hurled towards you just because you're young and you're trying to do the right thing and you're surpassing others. And in the act of surpassing others comes the act of intentionally or unintentionally embarrassing others. How are you 20? I'm 40, twice your age. You talk better than me. You recite better than me. You spit better than I do, faster than I do. I can't have this in front of my followers and the young. No, it's not going to work. So people want to be jealous. They're going to be envious. They're going to make things up against you. They're going to make a campaign against you. Oh, he's disrespecting the elders. He's not respecting the older brothers. I went through all of this in my life. All of this in detail. Still, to this day, I'm 32 years old. And there's still people saying, what? He's a kid. What does he know? Wallahi al-azim. In this masjid and other masjids in New York City. What does he know? How can he counsel somebody's marriage? How can he talk to somebody, give them advice? He's a child himself. Maybe I am. But they said the same thing when I was what? 18 years old. How many years ago was that? I had no hair on my face and they said the same. When are you going to keep saying that? And it's so ignorant and so stupid, so foolish for a person to look at the form and to ignore content. To ignore what? Content. Is what this kid saying right or wrong? Does it make sense or not? Is he qualified? Is he knowledgeable? Is he sharp or is he not? So only a fool, an absolute fool, and I mean the word F-O-O-L, is going to listen to somebody who's older, who's ignorant, and ignore someone who's younger, who has 20 times more knowledge and ability and talent. That's what? This ghayat as-safaha yani. That's the pinnacle of foolishness and stupidity. And this is something that many Muslims have today in the East and in the West. So you have to mentally prepare yourself what? For all of these different things. It's going to be a fitna. All right? So therefore, obviously a person is older than you. And in general, you have to have respect for people that are older than you. In general. However, you being a teacher, an instructor, they have to have more respect for you. So obviously you're not going to talk to a 50-year-old man in your Quran class like you're going to talk to a little boy. Not saying that you're going to disrespect the little boy, but it's going to be different, obviously. Everybody understand this? What's important is you humble yourself and Allah will raise you. What's important is you deal with everybody with a general standard of respect and they will give you, bi'idhnillah, a higher level of respect. What's important is if someone is really old in your class, call him Sheikh. Sheikh Yusuf, can you recite? And he's like, wow, you're the teacher, you're the Sheikh, and he still calls me what? Calls me Sheikh. Not because of his knowledge, but because of his what? His age. So perhaps that will soften his heart and allow him to give you the necessary what? Respect. So what's important is that you have to have enough strength to be professional. Is that even though this person's older than me, or this person's younger than me, or this is my friend, but in this classroom, everybody understand this? If we're studying judo, and you got to get flipped and slammed, what? So be it. You pick them up, I'm sorry. You all right? You back okay? Jazakallah khair. Malish. You come to me saying that you want to what? You want to learn, you want to study judo. Part of that is what? Being slammed. You're older than me, I'm younger than you. You come to me to learn, it's my amana to do what? To slam you on your neck. If you're not willing to do it like that, then what? Stay away from it. But if you're willing to do it, if you have the ability to be professional, be respectful, but at the same time, fix him. He makes a mistake. Correct him. And if he has a problem with it, you're too young, you're this and you're that, then he has to leave the class. I'm sorry. You want me to teach you something and you don't want to get tossed on the ground. You're wasting my time and your time. Wallahu a'lam. But experience is the what? Best teacher. Wallahu a'lam. Any other questions, Yusuf?
Yeah. HA Berkshire, UK. If someone is going through a lot and is telling you about the problems and tests, are you allowed to tell them about your hardships so they can feel that they are not alone?
There's nothing wrong with that, bi'idhnillah. Question is, once again, with regards to if someone is going through a lot, they're going through hardships, they're going through difficulties, is it permissible for you to tell them what? About what you went through to soothe them, to console them? There's nothing wrong with that. Rather, this is one of the skill sets of a good counselor. A good counselor. And what's one of the most important characteristics of a Muslim? Is to be a counselor on one level or another. A little bit or a lot. Some of us have a little knowledge, some of us have a lot of knowledge. Some of us have experience, others don't. But everybody has to give nasiha. As the Prophet ﷺ told us, that is the religion. As Jarir radiallahu anhu narrated, he gave the bay'ah to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ to give nush li kulli Muslim, to each and every Muslim. So therefore, a part of giving nasiha, advising, counseling, being transparent, is you tell them people, I'm a human being too. You may look up to me, but I'm a human being. I was your age once as well. I wanted to get married. I had a fitna with this. I had to overcome this. I had to go through that. Everybody understand this? To teach them that what you're going through isn't specific to you. It's not specific to you. Don't think that you're being isolated with this test. Secondly, just like I overcame it, You look at me in high regard. Oh, Sheikh Mufti, I was once 18 years old trying to learn Arabic in the masjid. I was once being discriminated against because of my age or this and that. I was once, and still am, hated upon. People had jealousy and envy just because I was young. Everybody understand this, Sharif? So you tell them that to show them that it's not specific to them. And that the problem is what? You can overcome it. Obstacles have only been placed. That's it. That's why it's the hurdle. It's made for you to jump over it. It's not made for you to just submit to it. All right? So there's nothing wrong with that. With the condition, obviously, you don't tell them something that's haram. If it's a sin that Allah forgave you of, it's in the past, you should leave it in the past. You should leave it in the past. And one of the best ways of doing it is make it in a third person. I'll tell you a story about someone. Kevin, you might be talking about yourself. So it's a very important concept is people need role models. And people need to relate. And people need friends. Oftentimes, it's not a whole lot of knowledge that's needed. Oftentimes not. Sometimes there is. Oftentimes, there's no special. It's just a friend, a warm ear, someone to talk to, someone that's going to listen to me, someone that feels my pain, someone that I can physically what? Relate to. Sheikh Albani, Ibn Taymiyyah, these people lived in a different part of the world, a different century. This person in New York City, in Philadelphia, in Berkshire, who is British, who learned the Quran, learned Arabic. If he did it, then I can do it. So it's very important. Wallahu alam.
S.A. Oakland, CA. Can a sister stay married to a brother that is a functioning alcoholic, meaning he provides, prays, pays zakat, etc., but struggles with addiction outside of the home?
Can a sister stay married to a functioning alcoholic, i.e. he prays, he fasts, he provides for her, he handles responsibilities, but he struggles with alcoholism outside of the home, etc.? Yes, she can. And it is not mandatory for her to get a divorce from him unless she doesn't have the necessary sabr, unless it's too much of a fitna, unless this husband who's an alcoholic refrains or he quits, he stops trying. But the moment he's actually trying and struggling and he relapses, he falls again. He's sober for a week, he slips, he's stressed, he's tired, I got fired, and he drinks. But he's actually trying to do the right thing. It's permissible for her to stay married to him. And she does not necessarily have to get a divorce from him unless, as we said, in which he just quits and he's just, I'm an alcoholic, and that's it. And she feels it's a fitna. How can I live under the same roof, beneath the same roof with this man who drinks, who gets intoxicated, who doesn't pray, so on and so on and so forth. Everybody clear on this? Okay, just because he's a fasiq doesn't mean that he's a kafir. And if he's a fasiq, he's still a Muslim. And if he's a Muslim, he's allowed to marry and divorce. He's allowed to buy and sell. He has huquq, he has rights for him and against him, as long as he's in the fold of Islam. And drinking alcohol does not take you out the fold of Islam. So it's permissible to stay married with him. Rather, it may be beneficial for a sister to remain married to this man because he may be a good provider. He may be a kind man, even though he's a drunkard, but he's kind. Everybody understand this? I had an uncle once, Uncle Marion, my grandmother's brother. I never remember this guy ever being sober. As we say, like a fish, a semeka. He was a fish. He was always drunk. Every time I saw him, if you didn't see him, you could smell him. If you couldn't smell him, you would hear him listening to oldies music in the house. But he was the kindest uncle that I had. He never mistreated me. He never hollered at me. He never cursed at me. He never hit at me. He never ever treated me funny, ever. And every time I went with him, I saw him. He was in his room outside. He always was nice and kind to me. And he was a what? A fish, not a drunk. He was what? A fish. Everybody understand this? He was a drunk. And there are other uncles who never drunk alcohol. They were mean and harsh. So just because somebody has a major sin and they're committing doesn't mean that they have bad akhlaq. It doesn't mean they have what? Bad akhlaq. Rather, there are some brothers who don't drink, who pray, who have big, huge sajda marks on their foreheads, big, long beards, and their akhlaq is poor, filthy. They mistreat their wives, they mistreat their children, they curse, they holler, they beat, they're stingy. This is a reality, unfortunately. And they have sajda marks, sajda marks, they're righteously, outwardly. But when they get in their homes and their houses, they treat their children like trash. They beat their kids, their wives, their children call me on the phone and tell me, yes, brother Fulan. No way, that's impossible. Not Abu Bakr. Naam. Abu Bakr blacked my eye. Abu Bakr said we're not eating meat in this household because we're practicing zuhd. It's reality. So just because he's a drunkard doesn't mean that he has what? Bad akhlaq. Everybody got this? Wallahi, this is important, Ikhwan. This is important. And we can't have fake piety. We can't have what? Fake piety. Allah may forgive this drunkard before he forgives the brother with the sajda mark who doesn't feed his family meat, who tortures his family. There's no electricity in the house. We're cutting it off. No hot water. Be like the Salaf. Have zuhd. Who beats his wife up. This is a reality, unfortunately. Who's mean and harsh and evil to his kids. Allah may forgive that drunkard man before he forgives the man who seems to be pious. And we all know the hadith about people that were ignorant, people that did things that were wrong, and Allah forgave them in hereafter because they had what? They had good hearts, kind hearts. Everybody understand this? And a major manifestation of a good, kind heart is what? Is good akhlaq. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, Inna akmal al-mu'minina imanan. He says the believers who have the most complete faith are those who have the best what? Character. Character is a major manifestation of a good heart, of a kind heart. Even with sins and with problems. And bad akhlaq is a major manifestation of a dark heart. Even if you have righteousness that you're performing outwardly, but you're like a monster. Why would you hit a little kid in the back of the head? Why would you kick your cat? Why would you treat your wife, your children that are closer to you? Why you want to starve them? And you yourself, you eat steak for breakfast. You eat chicken for lunch. You eat fish for dinner. Why? You eat meat 4 or 5 times a day, but your family, you're going to starve them. That shows that you're really a what? You're a base, low type of guy. As we say, a what? A creep. Everybody understand this? So it's details. Last but not least, one time I was in the Prophet's masjid. They asked Sheikh Abdul Muhsin about a woman who wants to get married. And it was some time that went by, she couldn't get married. Her father prevented her. One reason or another, she was getting older and older and she couldn't get married. And there's a man who came to her who makes the salah, who's a good Muslim, but he smokes cigarettes. He's a smoker. Should she marry the man? The Sheikh said, Naam, let her marry the man who smokes. That's better than her not being married. That's better than being someone who doesn't pray, someone who doesn't have good akhlaq. And perhaps, bidnai ta'ala, he'll eventually get off of that addiction. Hopefully this makes sense. Wallahu alam.
SAOPCA, is it permissible to take a pill that was prescribed by a doctor that has gelatin in it? The doctor says there is no other alternative.
If it's a necessity, then take the pill, bidnai ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ, he allowed Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he allowed Zubair, these companions, to wear garments that had silk on them because they had scabies. They were suffering from a skin illness. And he allowed them to wear what? Garments of silk. And silk is haram upon a Muslim man, except for a very small amount of it. So from this hadith, some of the fuqaha say that it is permissible to take haram things when there is medical necessity, a necessity of medicine. So if you have to take the pill and there's no other alternatives, bismillah. We don't even have to go that far and get into the issue of gelatin. Is gelatin haram or halal? We don't have to go that far. We don't have to go that far. Istihala, we don't have to go that far. The concept is durura, if it's necessity. Wallahu alam.
NB, Toronto, Canada. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May Allah preserve you, Shaykh. Is it permissible for a woman to travel to a neighboring city via plane with other trusted sisters and mahram's permission?
According to some of the fuqaha, it is permissible. Some of the ulama of Islam, they say it's permissible for a woman to travel without a mahram as long as it's safe, as long as she's not going to be harmed and bothered. No one is going to try to molest her, harm her verbally or physically. The linguistic meaning of the word to molest someone doesn't have to be something physical. If she's safe, if she's respected, then some of the fuqaha, they say it's permissible for her to travel with a group of sisters, let alone travel by herself. Or travel by herself, let alone with a group of sisters, let alone with the permission of our mahram. And Allah knows best. That's a very long discussion with regards to 2017, cameras, security, safety, general things, general safety. It's a very long discussion with regards to that issue. Some of the ulama of Islam, they say it is permissible. Wallahu alam. Khalid.
The question says, Muhammad and Nubi from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I work in an environment where the Muslim employees are few in number and the office environment is very competitive, sometimes cutthroat. What advice do you have for the Muslims in such situations where office problems could lead to them falling out and abandoning one another for reasons related to worldly affairs.
Repeat the question, please.
Assalamu alaikum salam. I work in an environment where
The name
Muhammad and Nubi
from
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Taib.
I work in an environment where the Muslim employees are few in number, and the office environment is very competitive, sometimes cutthroat. What advice do you have for the Muslims in such situations where office problems could lead to them falling out and abandoning one another for reasons related to worldly affairs?
طيب طيب خير inshallah. First and foremost, may Allah bless the questioner, Brother Muhammad Nubi. We'll just stop there, because I'm sure that's the only thing he wants me to say right now. I don't think he would like me to say anything more than that. And a true friend should always understand what? His friend, the intention of the friend. So may Allah bless him, ameen, in both worlds. Allahumma ameen. My advice is for the Muslims to practice hikmah. Hikmah. And hikmah isn't restricted to just wisdom. It's not restricted to any one word, one translation. Hikmah means so many things. Sometimes it means to be wise. Sometimes it means to be smart, to be savvy, to be strategic. Sometimes it means to be smooth. Hikmah sometimes means to be what? Quick. Fast. Sometimes hikmah means to be vicious. No doubt. Ruthless. Sometimes it means that. When you have to do something in the proper way, the proper manner. Here it's time to strike. Here's time to retreat. Here's time to advise. Here's time to... There's no one meaning of the word hikmah. So that's my nasiha, is for the Muslims to use hikmah in this workplace. And that when it's an advantage for them to say something, they should say something. When it isn't an advantage, don't say that. Refrain. Only fight when it's what? An advantage. Retreat when you have to retreat. Fight when you have to fight. Nothing else should determine your movements in the workplace. It's a good thing to say this, then say this. Good thing to remain silent, don't say anything. Even though your nafs may want to say it. But it's not advantageous. It's not for the maslahah. Everybody understand this? And hikmah is to refrain. Hikmah is to move forward, even though I don't want to move forward. I don't want to say nothing. I don't want to strike. I don't want to say nothing. But it's advantageous for me to what? To do so. This is an extreme, profound hikmah of life. Everybody clear on this? Okay, also realizing that if you're a minority in number and in religion, then you have odds against you. Somebody that's bigger and that's stronger. And you also have to use hikmah once more. You have to know how to maneuver as a minority. You have to learn how to stick together as a minority. You have to learn how to avoid petty arguing, petty disgruntled behavior among yourselves. Everybody understand this? You have to stick together to the best of what? To the best of your ability. You're already in a small number, a tiny number. So if you just split up into schisms groups, doesn't make any sense. And it's totally against hikmah once more. Also, it's for you to realize that the job is a means of rizq. And the rizq is not from you or from me. It's not from my degree, my expertise. It's only from Allah Azza wa Jal. So it makes no sense me fighting. It makes no sense me being cutthroat. It makes no sense me conniving and scratching and clawing to get your position, to get a raise. Nothing is going to come to us unless Allah Azza wa Jal has written it for us, as it states in the Quran. لَن يُصِيبَنَا. Nothing will afflict us إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. Except for that which Allah has what? Kataba, written for us. Huwa Mawlana. He is our Mawla, our protector, our Lord. He is our cherisher. Let the believers put their trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's no sense of fighting over the dunya. And the Prophet ﷺ tells us that a soul shall not die until it finishes its lifespan, until it finishes its rizq. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَأَجْمِلُوا فِي الطَّلَبِ. Hadith says, so fear Allah and be moderate in your seeking of Allah's rizq. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَأَجْمِلُوا فِي الطَّلَبِ. So rushing and fighting for the dunya is unwise. And nothing is going to come to you unless Allah what? Decreed it for you. Now you do have to strive, yes. You take a step. You make an effort. But you don't kill yourself in that effort. Let alone do something haram, lie, steal, cheat, jealousy and envy. These things, with the heart of the Muslim, the akhlaq of the Muslim is like water and oil. They don't mix. There's no such thing as hasad. There's no such thing as greed and lust. There's no such thing as being a backstabber and you put your face on the ground 5 times a day. How do you even stab somebody in the back? And you say, La ilaha Muhammad Rasulullah, for some dunya? That's the attribute and the characteristic of the munafiq, waliyadhu billah. The munafiq who seeks things from the worldly life. So these things have to be avoided as a Muslim, let alone the fact that you're the minority. As Hassan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala and others used to say, تَرَفَّقُوا يَا أَهْلَ السُّنَّةِ فَإِنَّكُمْ أَقَلُّ النَّاسِ. In their times, they would say, be gentle, O Ahl Sunnah, because you are the minority from among the people. Some of the people now say this, Hassan al-Basri said this in his time. He said, Ahl Sunnah aqallu nas, in the time of Hassan al-Basri, who was a major tabi'i. What about nowadays? So the same applies to the Muslims. You are the minority. Be wise, be strong, stick together. And perhaps if you don't have the sabr to deal with the fitna, get another job. Refrain from these people. Stay away from these people. As Allah tells us about Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. As Allah tells us how he left his family. He made hijrah. He left these people. Everybody understand this? And others as well. Others as well in the Quran al-Kareem. So that's my nasiha, is to stick together, is not to fight, is not to scratch over a bone, a piece of fat on a bone. Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one who gives you the wealth, who gives you the money. And if it's too much, if the Muslims are too ignorant, if they want to be too selfish, too greedy, then remove yourself from that place. Even if you have to work around other non-Muslims, unfortunately, that may be better. They may be more professional. They may have better work ethics. The people will say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate, but that is a reality of life today. So that's my nasiha in brief. Wallahu ta'ala alam. We'll stop here if there are no more questions. Fadal.
OH, Kharkiv, Ukraine. Assalamu alaikum. There's a brother who constantly dreams of wanting to die. He is not interested in this dunya and doesn't want to live anymore. Thoughts of suicide are constantly on his mind and he asks dua for death many times a day. He wants to know what he can do to change. What advice would you give him? Barakallahu feekum.
Well, fikum barakallah. A question from the Ukraine. Kharkov, Ukraine says, in brief, there's a brother who constantly thinks about death, who has suicidal thoughts. He doesn't want to live anymore. What advice could you give? That's the question, correct?
Yeah.
First of all, is the Prophet ﷺ, he forbade us from seeking death because of problems. لا يتمنين أحدكم الموت بضر نزل به. The Prophet tells us, do not wish for death because of dur, because of harm that comes your way. Major problems in life. Now, there's no point in me living anymore. No, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. Muslims not to do that. If it's some good, if it's bad, if it's the trouble, if it's a fitna, be patient with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's first and foremost, is you shouldn't seek death because of a hardship. As far as if a person just doesn't like living anymore and they want to die fi sabilillah, they want to be a martyr, that's a different story. That's a different story. However, that which I understand from this question, and Allah knows best, it seems as if the person is depressed, is stressed, has a lot of anxiety, hurt, fear, and they don't want to live no more because of those worldly what? Problems. It's a simple mathematical equation. You have your sins, you have your life problems, no matter what they are. You stole, you killed, you raped, you cheated, you beat your mother, you threw, no matter what sin you made, no matter what sin that you made of atrocity, waliyadhu billah, Allah's forgiveness and mercy is bigger and greater. Everybody understand this? It's just that simple. Allah's mercy is greater than your disobedience. Allah's forgiveness is more than your sins. Period. People who came before you that did worse than you, greater, more horrible crimes against themselves and against others than you did, Allah forgave them. Allah guided them, and some of them became some of the best Muslims whose names we read and we study and we talk about to this day, the Sahaba al-Kiram, radiallahu anhum. They killed, they murdered, they made shirk, first and foremost. They worshipped other than Allah, along with Allah. They buried their daughters, they did certain things, they drank alcohol, they were involved in prostitution, they robbed, they did this, they killed people, they murdered people. And look what they became. They became the best of the best. So therefore, Allah's forgiveness, Allah's mercy is greater than any sin that you can fathom and think about. Allah tells us, He says, go, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, go to my slaves, الذين أسرفوا على أنفسهم لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا. Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. O my servants who have wronged themselves, who have done evil, who have transgressed the boundaries, أسرفوا على أنفسهم, not a little, but have what? Asrafu, went way out of bounds. La taqnatu min rahmatillah. Don't despair, don't lose hope from Allah's mercy, because Allah forgives all sins. Because Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. He's all-forgiving. He's Ghafur. Limitless forgiveness. And He is Rahim. He's the most merciful. No one is more merciful than Allah. Wa rahmati wasi'at kulla shay. Allah tells us, my mercy, wasi'at, has enveloped all things. The Prophet ﷺ tells us that Allah Azza wa Jal, He has ordained, inna rahmati sabaqat ghadabi. He says that my mercy has preceded, outstretches my wrath, my anger. So there's nothing that you can possibly do that someone didn't do in the past and they were forgiven by Allah Azza wa Jal. If you commit suicide, you're only going to make your problems worse. You're only going to make more pain and more hardship for the people that you're trying to get away from their pain and from their hardship, or alleviate them from pain and hardship. If you kill yourself, what's going to happen to you in hereafter? What angels will take your soul? Where are you going to go? What's going to happen to you? Jannah, hellfire? What did the Prophet tell us about suicide? Poison, stabbing yourself in the belly, throwing yourself from a building. What did the Prophet tell us about suicide? That's first and foremost. Secondly is, what happens to your mother, your father, your friends, your wife, your girlfriend? What happens to the people that you leave behind when your son walks in, your mother walks in to check on you, to bring you your breakfast in the morning, and she sees your body lying on the floor with blood everywhere? Or you're hanging from a pipe, or pills, a whole thing of pills in your hand, and you're dead. What type of pain and hardship are you going to put those people in? So just think about the consequences of what? Of suicide. And realize that shaitan is an enemy. He wants you to commit suicide. He wants you to ruin everything, to end your life, because of the problems that Allah has the ability to make right and to mend, and He does not. So that's my nasiha, is to read the Quran, read about Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, read about Prophet Ayub, read about Musa, read about Muhammad, read about the prophets and the trials and the tribulations that they went through, and how Allah was with them. He helped them, He supported them, and وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Musa told his followers, the Jews, he said, the aqibah, the last round, the final decision of the fight is for the muttaqeen. Pharaoh is bigger, he's stronger, he's killing, he's oppressive, he has taken the boy children, and so on and so forth. إِنَّ الْعَاقِبَةَ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. The aqibah is for the muttaqeen. Fear Allah, put your trust in Allah. Allah will save us from Pharaoh, one way or another. One way or another. And look what happened with Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, with the magicians, with the Red Sea. Allah totally vanquished Fir'aun and the army of Fir'aun, because he put his trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, and he knew that the outcome was for Allah, even if it's a bit bumpy in the beginning of the road. So you have to read the Quran. Don't be by yourself. Avoid isolation. Go to the masjid. Go to your families. Stay away from being by yourself if you're feeling suicidal. Do not live by yourself. No matter who you have to go around. Go anywhere. Instead of you being what? By yourself. Because that's going to lead to more suicidal what? Thoughts. Good companionship. Wallahu a'lam. May Allah guide you and bless you.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
From where?
Chicago, Illinois. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Is it okay to do salah at the Sahaba's grave?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Question. Nadeem Jabri? Al-Jabri from Chicago, Illinois. Ask about, is it permissible to do prayer at the Sahaba's grave? Why? Why you gotta make salah at the Sahaba's grave? For what? Why? Make salah wherever you are. The Prophet ﷺ says, وَجُعِلَتْ لَنَا الْأَرْضُ مَسْجِدًا وَطَهُورًا. He says the masjid, from the things that I've been given, that the other prophets weren't given. From the things that are specific to me, he says the masjid, he says the earth is made as a masjid, and it made a means of tuhur, of tayammum, any place on this earth. Everybody clear on this? So why go to the graves of the Sahaba unless you believe and feel that there's a special virtue of those graves? Something special. Who told you about those graves being special? The Prophet? Did he say Abu Bakr's grave is special? Umar's grave is special? Do you know where they're buried? Some of them you may know, yes. Others, where it's what? Speculate. They speculate. Fulan's buried here. This is where this one died. And there are some places which is a total lie and total inaccuracy. But who told you that the graves are special? Muhammad? Has Muhammad told you that? If he did, pray at the graves of the Sahaba. And if he did not, you say, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the apostle of Allah. And he is the legislator. He is the guide. He is the one who says what to do, what not to do. He tells us what is a virtue and what isn't a virtue. So if Muhammad did not tell you to go to the Sahaba's grave, perhaps you need to check your shahada a second time. Ask yourself, what does it mean when I say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul? What does that mean? I bear witness that Muhammad is the Rasul of Allah. Sallu ala al-Habib. Most Muslims, that's the only thing they can think about. Sallu ala al-Habib. We love the Prophet. That's it. It's deeper than that. About loving the Prophet, believing in the Prophet, following the Prophet, listening to the Prophet, and realizing that the only way to Allah is through the Prophet. There's no way to Allah except through Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Muhammad told you to pray at those graves or not. If he did, faddal. And if he didn't, then you have a serious problem thinking that you're going to Jannah by going through other than Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's way. It's just that simple. So don't pray at anyone's grave. There is no prayer at a grave. Graves and prayer, graves and masjids do not mix, as Ibn Qayyim explained. Like cats and dogs, they don't mix. They don't get along. It's just that simple. The Prophet cursed the people who go to the graves of the righteous and take them as means of prayer and prostration. So do not pray at those places. Wallahu a'lam.
Kharkiv, Ukraine. It's not like, oh wait, no, I said it. OH, Kharkiv, Ukraine. An auntie of mine breastfeeds her baby in front of her 13 and 16-year-old nephews. Is this permissible in Islam because in her culture it is fine?
Question says, an auntie of mine breastfeeds her baby in front of a 13-year-old or 16-year-old child. Is it permissible? Because in my culture it is fine. It's best that when a woman wishes to breastfeed someone, whoever she's in front of, to cover her breast with a blanket or sheet. That is what is best. That's what should be done. And Allah knows best. We'll stop here. That's it.
Yeah, no, there's more, but.
Fadl.
AJ Bowie, MD. What advice can you give to a sister whose husband is addicted to the TV, using the excuse he is watching HD TV to fix the house? I told him to cut the cable he refused. When I asked him to pay for me to take Quran classes using $185, he wasted it on the TV and said no. I'm so frustrated the other night when I told him again because of the TV, he doesn't give me the kids' rights. He said, that's just sense what he pays for the TV.
Type. Question says from Maryland, Bowie, Maryland. With regards to husband who's a couch potato, supposedly. He's addicted to the television. That's what the sister said. He doesn't give us the necessary rights, time, attention. He spends money on the cable or whatever instead of sending me to the Quran class. I'm frustrated. What should I do? He makes an excuse, so on and so forth. My first question to you is, do you watch TV yourself, sister? That's the first question. If you watch TV, then it's a scenario. If you don't watch TV, it's a different scenario. Thirdly is, was it a point in time in which you used to watch the television? It's very important for you to ask yourself this question. Because you may have divorced the television. Television's haram. It's the shaitan box. Music, women, men with their odor exposed. It's a waste of time. But was there a time in which you sat down and watched the television? You may have moved on, and he may still be stuck on when you guys used to sit and eat popcorn together, watching television. And I don't know this about the sister or the brother or whatever, but I know for sure this is the case of many Muslims right here in Queens, New York. Everybody understand this? Many brothers. Your brother has a beard, a thobe. He brings you over his house. His wife is uncovered. Brother has a beard and a thobe. You meet these are my sons, these are my daughters. No hijab, no beard, nothing. No religion, no deen, no sunnah. Wala shay. Let alone other things, haram stuff. So he's on the sunnah, but his wife is totally mutabarrija. No hair out, everything out. My kids, no sign of Islam on them. Why is this? The kids are evil. Not necessarily, but because there was a time in which he was what? Just like the kids. There was no beard. There was no thobe at the middle of the shin. There was isbal. There was riba. There was all of these things. And then he listened to a lecture. He watched something. He became guided and he moved forward. And the family is still what? stuck behind. Why are they still stuck behind? Because they are bad Muslims, or you didn't do a proper job in speeding them up and enforcing things. That's oftentimes the case. And sometimes it's because they just don't want to be religious. However, if you used to do the same thing, the very first thing that your husband is going to say, or your son or your wife is going to say what? It was cool when you did it. Why I can't do it no more? So if that is the case, then you're going to have to give him nasiha, advise him what makes you stop watching television, but you have to have sabr because you used to do the same thing. And just like Allah was patient with you, Allah did not destroy you and wreck you and ruin you. You have to be patient what? With this person who is your husband. I don't want to watch the television. I advise you, but I can't force my way on you now. He may say, it's not hard to watch television. I'm watching the news. I'm watching the sports center. I'm going to pray. I'm going to do this. I worked all day. I want to relax. Can I watch the television? Everybody understand this? So you got to be patient. You have to be what? You have to be patient. Everybody understand this? As far as the other two scenarios, then if you never ever watch the television, and he always watch, I don't see how you can be married like that. How did the television get in the house unless it was what? At one point in time? There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt what? About that. So be patient. Give him nasiha. Don't badger him. Don't abuse him. Take your frustration out in your dua. Complain to Allah. Call out to Allah. Ask Allah to guide you, to guide him, to rectify the situation. Don't badger him, because no good is going to come out of you badgering your husband. Rather, I'm going to be honest, there's not going to be any good coming out of a woman badgering a husband who's trying to watch TV. He has his drink, he has a sandwich, he's watching Sports Center. Oh man, yeah, right. This one, that one, stat scores. Here comes his wife. Get up, this, that. I want to. What's the first thing the husband will do, Khalid? All right, 1 second. Not right now. Oh, damn. Highlights. No one wants to be bothered when they're watching sports. This is reality. I'm not trying to be funny. This is what? This is reality. And it's more effective, more efficient for her to speak to him or even complain to him after the sport is what? It's over. He'll say, all right, no problem. I want to watch this one replay. I want to watch this one interview with the guy after the game. Wallahi. And the first thing the husband is going to say, I came home from work. I worked a double shift like a dog. You were in the house. Only thing that I ask is you to allow me to drink my drink. It's not khamr, inshallah. Have my sandwich, my nachos, my Tostitos, and watch a little bit of sports. That's it. Can I do that without you hagging me and nagging me? You think we're making this up, Sharif? No. Not every man, but many men in American society. This is a reality. So oftentimes a woman, she comes pestering, badgering him with something that is a haqq, something that he's not doing right. But once again, hikmah, finding the right time and the right place to complain, to nag, to advise, to give him a book, the right time and the what? The right place. And there's a balance in every single thing. There's a balance in everything. And oftentimes people, they won't watch the television, then they go extreme in other things now. They stop caring about this. They stop caring about that. They have no recreation, no downtime, quote unquote. And then they start messing up in other aspects of life. So I'm not saying it's okay to watch television. I'm not saying don't give your husband advice. I'm not saying that, and I never said that. What I'm telling you is to use a bit of what? Hikmah. And know when to fight and when not to fight. And I don't think that he wants to be bothered when he's trying to watch something. Advise him on another time. Take him to a beneficial lecture. Give him a book. Speak to him outside of that area, that arena. Let alone, she said that he's addicted to it. And if you're addicted to something, it's not that easy to just put it down like that. Am I clear on this? So therefore, advise him, remind him, have someone speak to him, and talk to him and explain to him. Even if you have to complain outside of that. Like, look, we have bills. The kids, I want to study the Quran. It's your responsibility to take care of me, look after me. The TV is clearly taking away from that. But use hikmah. Use what? Use hikmah and reflect on what you used to do. Be patient with someone that is doing something that what? You used to do. And perhaps it's a punishment from Allah. Perhaps it's a punishment from Allah. Because you used to watch TV for hours. Now you're being what? Afflicted with it. And the only way of getting out of an affliction is to take action, yes. And also to have what? Sabr. You have to have patience. Even when it's time to fight, you have to have what? Sabr. You have to have patience. As Allah tells us in the Quran. Patient people fighting. You have to be patient. So that's my nasiha. Get a brother to talk to him. Somebody he respects. Someone that he looks up to. And just tell him like, look, akhi, if you're going to watch TV, if you're going to watch, whatever you're going to watch, then at least make sure your wife is comfortable. At least minimize your television watching. It's hard for you to just leave it off. 100 and a brother. Your husband, he eats with you, he drinks with you, he sleeps with you, he's intimate with you, he takes you out, you go to the masjid, and there also has to be a time in which your husband should have his what? Own time. Whether it's the television or not, it doesn't have to be the television. Just let him sit and read a book. And one of the main complaints of men with regards to marriage is that she smothers me. I feel like I have no life. Everything in my life is surrounding her, and us. And there's a balance, there's a healthy balance. And let the what? Have his time. That's why I have girls not out, guys not out, a party, Super Bowl party. Let him hang out with the guys, with the fellas. This is real. This is a real part of life. Because he needs his time in which is not lovey-dovey, boo, honey, stress and problems. In which he can just relax with the what? And the same applies to her. Some sisters, they complain about that. My husband smothers me. Only thing he wants to do is just lay down with me, sit and talk and feed me grapes. That's nice. That's fun. But I want some time in which I can be what? No doubt. Don't take it from me. I'm just making it up. I'm trying to make you laugh. Read. Study yourselves. Look at what's the wisdom of polygamy. Everybody understand this? When you have something too much, you smother something too much, you oversaturate something too much, what happens? You ever milked a cow before?
Yes.
Okay, how do you milk the cow? What do? You drain all of the milk out or do you leave some?
No, you leave some.
Why? Once you take all of the milk out, it's going to come back what? Far slower. Leave a little bit. Don't go extreme. And then the next day will be what? More milk. So give your husband some space. Give your wife some space. And perhaps when you do get together, when you are with each other, it'll be even what? Even better. Instead of just totally dominating the next person's life. That's all I want to say. Wallahu alam. Please forgive me. I'm not trying to make nobody laugh. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just trying to keep it real. As we say in Hadith Disciple. And I know most people, they want to answer the question and they're going to be fake. Naam, verily, indeed, break the television right now, get rid of it. That's what you have to do. And that is not real life. He may divorce you. He may beat you. He may leave the house because you're trying to take away all of his free time. That's not hikmah. Wallahu alam.
Khadija from NYC, how do I advise a new Muslimah that her marriage to a non-Muslim is haram in Islam? I gave her proof from the Quran, like in Surah 58.
If you give her the proof and she doesn't want to follow it, it's not much you can do. Pray for her, make dua for her. Maybe some scholar that she looks up to. Maybe somebody she admires. A sister or a brother, an imam. Ask them to speak to her. Sometimes that's even more effective than giving someone the direct Quran, because that's your interpretation. You're not a scholar, you're not an alim, you don't speak Arabic. But maybe the imam that they do look up to will say, no, you can't be married to this Christian man. Everybody clear on this? And it's nothing you can do. You can't force them. You can't force her to take what you know is right and to leave along that what you know is wrong. So perhaps the most effective way is to do what? Get somebody that she looks up to and that she admires. And most importantly, like I said in the previous answer, do not saturate. Do not press someone too hard. Wallahu alam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Jazakumullahu khairan.